All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our monthly webinar series, and this month's feature, Vacant Property and Builder's Risk. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items to discuss. For the WebEx, everyone calling in today is on mute. If you would like to full screen the presentation, in the presentation window, this is a window where you can see our title slide. Scroll to the top right corner of the window where the arrows are pointing away from each other. You click those arrows and it will make the presentation full screen. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter your questions into either the WebEx chat or the Q&A box. We are going to attempt to monitor both during the webinar, but know that it might take us a second to notice your question. We're also going to use those, before I get there, we are going to have a question and answer section at the conclusion of this webinar. So if you can hold your questions to the end, that would be preferable. We are going to have trivia questions throughout the webinar as well. The first to answer will receive a prize, which will be a $20 Amazon gift card. We are recording this webinar, and we're going to send along the recording along with a downloadable version of the slide deck that we're going to go over today. We will get that out to you via email as soon as we can. It usually takes us 3 to 5 business days roughly. The timing of this presentation, we're going to try to keep it to 30 to 35 minutes long. We know that you guys are all busy, and so we're going to try to keep this as concise as possible. For today's webinar, we are a California-based focused MGA. As such, we're going to be focused our underwriting guidelines and the product parameters to the California risks. If you are interested in other state parameters and guidelines, please email us and we'll get you the information. My name is John Poucher. I am the Sales and Marketing Manager here at Abram Interstate Insurance Services. I have been with Abram for 5 years, and I have been in the insurance industry for 7 years. I oversee all of our field marketing team that some of you have probably met before, as well as some of our inside agency marketing representatives, along with all in-house marketing and customer distribution. Also on the call with us this afternoon is one of our friends from AU Gold, Drew Medina. Drew.
Hi guys, this is Drew with AU Gold. I'm looking forward to showing you guys the system and some of the selling points of the program.
This afternoon we're going to go over why to partner with both Abram and AU Gold, talk about eligible and ineligible exposures of both the Vacant and Builder's Risk programs. We're going to highlight the limits and advantages of the products. Briefly show you how to quote within the system, the online system, and as I stated before, we'll have a dedicated question and answer section at the end of the webinar. Most of you know Abram Interstate. For those that don't, we are a independently held and operated MGA wholesaler out of Rockland, California. We are one of few independently held MGA and wholesalers left. You see a lot of consolidation on the wholesale side, as you've seen on the retail side as well. We've been in business for 20 years. Our market focus, as you can see, is that we offer products in pretty much every single line on the P&C spectrum, from commercial, personal lines, and agribusiness. We're a friendly, fun team. One of our advantages that our retailers tell us constantly is that we do answer the phone. And they really like that about us. If you call us, you get a live human receptionist that can help you with your question. No phone trees with us. AU Gold, they're a syndicate of ours from Lloyd's of London. They focus on bringing ease of use to products traditionally not known for it. We're going to go over a couple of those today, Builder's Risk and Vacant Property. They also offer some other products, and they're doing this with their online quoting system. Their high bind ratios with these products indicates both ease of use and their competitive pricing. So we're going to try to wake everyone up from the lunch tiredness and get everyone alive here. So we're going to go with our first trivia question. And how this works, I'm going to ask a question and give 20 seconds for answers to come in. All answers need to be typed into either the chat or Q&A boxes. If you're on full screen mode with the presentation, move your cursor to the top of the screen and a menu bar should appear and provide you the options to chat or provide a Q&A. The first answer that is correct or the closest answer after 20 seconds will win a $20 Amazon gift card, as I stated earlier. All right, the first question is, how many vacant housing units were there in California at the time of the last U.S. Census in 2010? In 20 seconds starting now. Some answers are rolling in. Got a few so far. Keep them coming in. How many vacant housing units were in California at the time of the last U.S. Census in 2010? And we're there. Who won? Who is closest? Let's see here. The answer is 1.1 million vacant housing units. And who is closest? Michael. I'm sorry, Michael, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but we will reach out to you. Your answer was, is it 100,000 or a million?
Yes.
Yes, one of them. Our eyes. But you were the closest, Michael. Great job. The closest estimates I can get to 2016, and they are estimates, is of about 550,000 to 600,000 vacant housing units right now. So that's your market cap opportunity as an insurance agent to write the vacant property product on the personal line side. Congrats, Michael. All right, Drew.
All right, guys. I'm going to give you a little information on our vacant property coverage with AU Gold. A little background about AU Gold and what we can provide for you guys. It's an online underwriting platform. We are a syndicate of Lloyd's of London, so it is Lloyd's paper. I'll get more into that information as we go along. But our flagship product was the vacant property product. We started this product about 11 years ago, one of the first online underwriting platforms to market, so we're really proud about that, kind of ahead of the game on the online underwriting stuff. And we started with the vacant property product. So we have a great reputation. As you can see, just looking at the slide, we have some different policy options for you guys. We are property-heavy programs, meaning we do require property coverage on all of our policies. We do have one exception, and I'll get to that when we get to the product comparison sheet, which is our guideline information. But focusing on the vacant property, we'll give you guys a property monoline option. We'll give you guys a package option with the liability. One thing we do not do, guys, is the liability standalone policies. We do got to have property. We give you guys some multiple location options, and we will write short schedules of your vacant properties. On average, we don't like to go much more than 15 locations. So these aren't going to be major schedules, but typically for these vacant properties, we don't see much more than the 10 to 15 requests. We do write multiple policy term options for you guys. So you can write a short-term policy as low as 3 months. We'll give you 6, 9, and annual policy term options as well. We do give significant schedule credits. Now, with the retail direct access, you guys won't actually have credits available to you, but your Abram account managers do have access. We give them an ample amount. They have good underwriting experience. We trust them on their pricing. So do work with your guys' account managers at Abram on any type of credit considerations. They do have an ample amount. Give you guys some ideas on the coverage limits that we provide for you guys. So we will give you guys building limits or the coverage A. We'll give you guys up to $3 million. Now, kind of the rule of thumb with AU Gold, guys, is you guys do have access to higher limits by referral basis only. So contact your account managers at Abram about that stuff. We do provide other structures coverage. Maybe you have a garage on site, or we can also give you the personal property, the coverage B, or the BPP and the other structures coverage will give you up to 20% of the coverage A limit. Low minimum premiums. We have our minimum premiums will go as low as $775 package as on low limits, and with some schedule credits, you guys can get down to that minimum premium, no problem. We also have some deductible flexibility. You can go as low as $1,000, and we obviously give you guys higher limits as well. And one of the better parts about the vacant coverage is we can actually include your cosmetic renovations on the policy itself. They do need to be cosmetic. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but we'll give you up to 50% of the building value with a cap of $400,000 on those cosmetic renovations. Going into a little bit of detail on the vacant coverage for the commercial exposures. We will give you guys the premises liability options up to $1 million, or 1-2 limits, and some of the forms that we have available for you. Nothing too shocking here. Basic and special forms available for you. But a nice selling point is we do give you the RC option as well. So you have the ACV and the RCV options. We do give you a theft option. One of the best selling points about AU Gold with our vacant program is we are very flexible in the theft coverage. So we'll give you a theft option. We'll give you some sublimits available for the commercial exposures, as long as you have it in conjunction with the vandalism coverage and an active central station burglar alarm on the special form. So as long as you have both of those in place, you'll have theft options. We can also cover a parking lot for these vacant commercial premises, and we do allow for you guys to add additional insureds at no cost. Okay, let's get on to the vacant coverage for the residential. So with AU Gold, guys, we do write both residential and commercial exposures. In the system, you have two options. You can select the vacant residential or the vacant commercial. It's as simple as that. We write both exposures. On the vacant coverage for the residential, we have two options as far as the ISO forms we have available to you. It's the DP1 and the DP3. Obviously, the DP3 is going to be a little bit more broad in coverage, but we do have both options for you. We will give you the premises liability, including partnerships, joint ventures, LLCs, and trusts. We're totally okay with those types of exposures. And we will give you a premises liability up to $1 million. So don't forget, we got to have property coverage. We can't include the swimming pool liability. So that's something that can automatically be included. We do provide theft coverage. We have a little bit more flexibility on the theft coverage for the residential exposures. We'll give you the option to include it in the full limit as long as you have it in conjunction with the vandalism and malicious mischief coverage, and you have it on a DP3. For the vacant residential, a little bit different than the commercial, we don't require the central station alarm. And again, I mentioned on the commercial, same thing with the residential. Additional insureds, with AU Gold, we never charge for it, the AIs. I talked about how we can include the renovations on the vacant policy. Some of the parameters around that and some of the information that you need to know in order to include that renovation is the building envelope must be secure. We don't want any openings, and it must be secured. The work cannot be structural in nature, so no work affecting the load-bearing walls or the building envelope. We want it to be cosmetic. If we're going to include it on the vacant commercial or the vacant property policy, remember it's got to be cosmetic, and that's just going to be non-structural stuff. Talk to your guys' account managers if you guys have questions on what a cosmetic versus structural renovation may be. The work values need to reflect the work being done. Does the project value compared to the building make sense? These are typical underwriting questions you should be thinking about. And if the contractor is actually, if your building owner is going to be hiring a contractor to kind of work on these cosmetic renovations for you, we got to make sure that that contractor is carrying their own liability limit. That should be pretty normal. If the insured is handling their own cosmetic renovations, maybe it's a dwelling owner painting their own walls to make their building look a little bit more appealing for sale, something like that, we don't require them to carry their own contractor's license or be insured as a contractor if they're handling their own cosmetic renovations. So you have some flexibility there as well, guys. Next slide. Okay, so what I want to show you guys here, I think I'm going to give John a second to share my screen. Okay, you guys, hopefully you're seeing this okay. What I'm looking at here is the AU. Okay,
make sure you,
let me know when it's
go
loaded.
back to the quick start and hit share screen.
Oh, gotcha. There we go. Okay, guys, so what you should be looking at here is the AU Gold rating system. I'm not going to go through the whole process just for the sake of time. I already have it automatically filled in, but I wanted to start off here on the coverage page. This is a vacant property that we're working on here. It's a residential exposure. I just wanted to show you the coverage page because this is going to be where you're applying your coverage for each risk. As you can see, it's very organized for you guys. It's easy. It's super fast for you. Apply your limits information. You see the DP3 and the RC coverage there, the VMM question, and the liability. All of the coverage information. Get that added, a couple underwriting questions, get down to the premium page, and what I want to show you guys here is your indication. Now keep in mind, everything that you see in AU Gold is only an indication. I mentioned that your Abram account managers have credit authority. We're going to let you know right here that do contact your MGA for any type of pricing consideration. So if this price is a little bit higher than what you're looking for, or in a good, in a perfect world, maybe it's a little bit lower than what you're looking for, you can apply credits and debits by contacting your MGA. Now I want to show you guys how, once you have the rating completed and you get to the summary page, this is going to be where you actually submit to your account managers over at Abram, the team that you work with. So everything's been completed. Now, one of the tricky steps of AU Gold, if you're not familiar with the process, and I say it's tricky because if you don't know, you just need to read the instructions down here. It says, please print application before submitting to your underwriter. All you have to do is print the application, which is a little button over here on the left-hand side in the policy detail. Now, the reason we want you to do that, guys, is when you're printing out your indication cover letter, oops, I got a pop-up blocker here. Sorry, guys, 1 second here. There we go. So what we're doing here is when you click that print application button, which is a required step before you can submit to your account managers, is you're going to see a cover letter for your indication, but you're also going to have your blank application filled out for you. So everything you guys do in the system, you're actually filling out the application, every single step that you take. All right, and that's why it's referred to as printing out the application. Okay? Oh boy. The pop-up didn't open up another screen. So what you're going to do when you get to that final stage is there's a submit button. All you're going to have to do at that point is submit it to an underwriter from a drop-down box. It's a very simple process. I'll show more details on that. I'm going to do another demo in a minute on the renovation, so we'll get to that in a second. So, John, I went ahead and stopped sharing my screen on my end for the demo portion. And if we want to get back to the presentation, it's all you.
Hold on, let's see. All right, guys, just getting the ball back from Drew here.
Okay, I just switched it over.
There we go. There we go.
All right, there we go.
All right, time for the second trivia question of the webinar. Again, you have 20 seconds to answer. The first to get the correct answer exactly or closest to the answer at the end of 20 seconds will win a $20 Amazon gift card. In the second, let me get my timing mechanism up here. And the question is, what is the average spending per home with improvements / remodels in California for 2016? And so what I mean by that is anything that's a kitchen renovation and or a bathroom renovation to even painting. So it's going to be an average for California in 2016. All right, 20 seconds starting now. Okay, 5 more seconds. All right, 2 done. All right. Tracy at the wire there. Very, very good. I think she won, right? Yep. The answer is $7,591 is the average that an individual is spending per home for their improvements and remodels. And why I bring that up? Because our next product is going to be talking about our builder's renovation product.
All right, guys. So I'm going to give you some information on our builder's risk product with AU Gold. Guys, this is one of our fastest growing products. It has a really successful hit rate. Rates are competitive. Coverage is great. If you guys are seeing the builder's renovations you're going to have some good success with AU Gold, especially during the summer months. That time of year, everybody's renovating their homes, their buildings. So I want to give you guys some information on our Builder's Risk product. Now, what we're talking about here are existing structures. Later on, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information on our course construction Builder's Risk product, but we're talking about existing structures, whether it's a dwelling or a commercial building, and essentially what we're looking at are structural renovations. We do write property. I mentioned that it's the same thing as the vacant. We have the property and the liability available. So we'll do the property monoline, and we'll package with the liability. Some of the property coverage that's available is we have the other structures coverage, and we'll give you guys the personal property coverage as well, and we'll give you access of up to 20% of the coverage A limit. That's the building limit. I mentioned we'll package this program or this product for you, so we'll give you a liability limit up to $1 million on a residential exposure and on a commercial up to 1-2 limits. Now, one of the better selling points, and I'll talk more about this, is we'll give you the liability even when the insured is acting as the contractor. I'll give you some of the eligibility and ineligible requirements, parameters around that. We do give you a vandalism and malicious mischief coverage option. It's optional. You do not have to purchase it. And we'll give you a full theft option on a DP3. We do give you a TIV limit up to $2 million. The existing structure, I'll talk more about that, but it's going to be a $1.5 million cap. Policies can be extended up to 18 months. So kind of the rule of thumb with our AU Gold program is we'll extend a builder's risk policy up to 18 months. If we need to go further than the 18 months, not a problem. We can approve those, but we may have to write a separate policy. It's a little bit different than maybe some of your standard markets or your admitted carriers that will they won't extend those policies, or they'll cancel and non-renew. We can actually renew those policies. So it's a nice option for you guys. Keep in mind, guys, this is an E&S program, so if you have your builder's renovations coming off of a standard or an admitted carrier, we can actually take those over if they non-renew, which we know that that's something that they do often. Protection classes available, 1 through 10. That's pretty standard to all of our products. And we'll offer you a theft of building materials sublimit available if you decide to purchase that. So I mentioned I'll give you guys some of the eligibility and some of the eligibility criteria around the builder's risk product. This is just some of the basic information. Once you guys get familiar with the quoting process and you start off the quote with the eligibility page, which is always the first page of the quoting process, you're going to get more familiar with all the eligibility requirements. This is a lot of it, so there's not too much. But if you look at the eligibility table, the column on the left, we're letting you know that we'll give you guys up to 10,000 square feet for these renovations as far as the square footage. If you guys have something that's a little bit larger than that, contact your team. We may be able to approve that. The project costs, we're going to be looking at nothing more than 150% of the existing dwelling value. Could be in a commercial building as well, but it's kind of the limit that we're looking at as far as the cost of the renovation itself. We don't want to exceed 150% of the building value. We do allow for modular homes. I know those are becoming more and more popular. And I mentioned that the existing building value, we don't want to exceed $1.5 million. You'll see that the $500K applies to the PC 9 and 10. If you guys write a lot of business in the PC 9 and 10 areas, we do have a little bit more restriction on the building limit itself. As you can see in this, for this product, it's $500,000. And we do cap it at the 3 stories for the building itself. Now, when I'm talking about these parameters and these limits for example, the existing building limit of $1.5 million, if you have a great building that's $1.5 million, for example, or $1.55 million or something like that, and sit within the ballpark of our limits, always send in a referral. Maybe we can get that approved for you. We like writing good business. Some of the eligibility requirements, we want to make sure that the building is secured against unauthorized entry during off hours. And I mentioned that the insured acting as a contractor is okay. We'll give you the liability as long as they sub out all of the work. That keeps it eligible. Excuse me. Some of the ineligible, some of the criteria that's ineligible that we want to kind of stay away from, we're looking at buildings in distressed areas. Now, you guys will be able to underwrite that. Buildings with existing damage, buildings that are condemned or scheduled for demolition, no renovations coming off of a fire, theft, vandalism, demo, or underpinning, which we mentioned, of an existing building or structure, lead, asbestos, or other pollutant abatement. These are typical exclusions for these types of exposures. We also, we talked about the insured acting as a contractor. If they're doing their own actual work, then we're going to be excluding that liability. So there is some flexibility on that. Always contact your team, your account managers with any type of questions around that, but kind of the basics around that. The insured's acting as a contractor, subbing out the work, liability is okay. Insured acting as a contractor, doing their actual work themselves, no liability, we'll write the property. So the next thing we want to just talk about some of the basic forms of this product itself. Standard ISO forms, guys. We're looking at policy forms, DP1, DP3 for our residential builders renovation, and special and basic for the commercial renovations. 3, 6, 9, or 12-month policies. I'd like to mention that the residential exposures will give you the DP3 is available if built or updated within the last 30 years. And the special form on a commercial risk is available if built or updated within 20 years. So you'll see that on the residential exposures, a little more flexibility. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you guys the submission process for the builder's risk product. So I think John's going to pass this over to me. Let me share my screen.
Coming to you, Drew.
All right, should have just popped up on your guys' end. Now you'll notice that this looks very familiar as the Vacant example that we looked at. Now, the process is the same with all the quoting products that we have in AU Gold, but you will see a little bit of difference in questions, and that should be fairly obvious considering that the products are a little bit different. So if we're looking at the underwriting tab on the builder's renovation exposure, I just wanted to show you how you kind of categorize the type of renovations that they're going to be performing. You simply click whatever applies. Here's the additional insureds. You can add those at no charge. And then we're going to continue on to the premium page. Premium page, just like the Vacant, you're going to take a look at all the coverage that you've applied. You're going to see your indication. And we're going to remind you to contact your MGA if you need to apply any credits. So it's very similar to the Vacant process. Here's the theft of building materials questions. I'd like to point that out just because these are optional coverages. If you say no, premium might adjust slightly, but I just wanted to your available coverage. All right, now let's show you guys how to actually submit to your account managers. Print the application before we can actually submit. There we go, we got the proper pop-up on this one. The builder's renovation indication, just like the Vacant, attached to that cover letter, which is similar to a deck page, is we have our application that's been, I don't know what that is, but okay, we have our application that's been completely filled out, just in the same manner you answered the questions in the system. So the application's done. Go back to once you've actually printed the application, you go back to your summary page, and now we should be able to submit to our underwriter. Let's see if that actually took. There we go. Okay. There we go. So now we can actually submit to our underwriters here. As you can see, I simply click that green submit button. Now we're going to select whatever it is that we're requesting to do. In this case, we're requesting a quote. If you wanted to request a bind, you can also select that option. But for this example, we're obviously requesting the quote. You're going to see the next screen, you're going to select from your drop-down the individual that you want to submit to. You're going to select your account manager's name. You're going to click the Add Recipient button. The reason we need you to click the Add Recipient button is you actually need to select an underwriter that you're going to be submitting it to. So I'm going to test user sites. Let's see what we can get here. there's one of our underwriters that you can submit to. This is one of our, obviously this is a test site, guys. So once you can actually type in a little bit of a note in the text box, something like that, to send email. You want that to be clicked. And then you're going to click continue. And what's going to happen is an email alert is going to be sent to your account managers. They're going to open up their AU Gold account. They're going to see your submission in their on their home page. Where they actually see that, I'll show you that fairly quickly here. On the home page is there's a message center at the bottom of the home page where all of these submitted files will be listed. It's going to look just like this, but down here in the message center. And then they're going to open up that file and they're going to continue quoting for you guys. And then they're going to submit it back to you. So that's essentially how the process works. I think you guys will be able to get the hang of that no problem. Okay, so let me go ahead and stop sharing that portion. I'm going to hand it back over to John.
Perfect. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, and there you go.
Well, Drew briefly went over how to quote there, obviously within the AU Gold system. So that is the primary way we get quotes for both the vacant property and builder's risk going through the AU Gold system. If you do not have a login, you can contact us. Either call us at 916-780-7000, or you can email marketing@abraminterstate.com to request an online login. And of course, we also take paper applications, either in a Accord form or one of the AU Gold application forms, which can be found on our website if you go to abraminterstate.com, and then you'll see a forms and applications tab at the very top of our home page, which you can click, and then you'll find the AU Gold applications found on that page. Now, Drew showed you briefly in the system there, you can request a quote or you can request a bind. On all our quotes, when we send back to you, there will be binding instructions. One thing we did not talk about is obviously they offer multiple length terms, 3, 6, 9, 12. We do require 3-month policies be fully earned, and then 6 and 9 will have different minimum earned requirements, and that will all be in your quote, and you should be able to see that very clearly. As well as we have premium finance options, so these are pay in full policies. If you do not have premium financing options, you can get them through us here at Abram Interstate Insurance Services. All right. Back over to you, Drew.
Yep. Okay, guys. So we mentioned that we have a product comparison sheet. This is what I refer to as our guideline sheet, and that's what we're looking at here on your screen. I will let you know that this is readily available on the home page when you log into AU Gold. If you want to make a mental note or jot down a note on how you can obtain this, it's on the home page. You look at the bottom right of the home page, you'll see something called Product Forms. You simply click on that Product Forms link. You scroll down to the bottom of that pop-up screen, and you'll see something called the AU Gold Product Comparison Sheet, and that's what we're looking at here. Now, we've gone over the vacant property and the builder's renovation products, but as you can see, we have multiple new other products that are available for you guys. I'm not going to go into details on the vacant property and the builder's renovation for obvious reasons. We just went into those, but I'm going to highlight some of the parameters that we're looking at for some of the other products available. Starting off with the dwelling fire. Now, if you take a look at the table, it works just like a graph. You look at the dwelling fire product, you look at the left, you'll see the product information, and you kind of go down the line, you'll see some of the parameters around that product. For example, on the dwelling fire, you're going to see the coverage A and building limit. We typically will max that out at $500,000, but we do have an exception in California, so this is good for us. I say us because I'm actually located in California as well, guys. But if you look in the box, you'll see that the California max limit is $750,000. So we're not looking for really high-valued stuff here. This is going to be the mid-sized homes, the small homes in California. You guys can actually get approval up to $1 million by referral. And I mentioned before that we do cap the PC 9 and 10 and 500,000. If you go down the line, you're going to see the coverage B. And on the dwelling fire, we're letting you know that we're going to give you guys up to 10% of the building limit. The personal property will cover up to 50% of the building limit. And any type of fair rental value or any type of coverage D or E we'll give you guys up to 20% of coverage A, the coverage A limit, and we'll actually include that, so we won't charge for that. We package up to $1 million. If you look down into the other coverages box, excuse me, you can see some of the types of dwellings that we typically write with this program. We're looking at condo units, seasonal, short-term, secondary homes, vacation homes. We do write the Airbnbs. We have a minimum of a 2-night stay minimum requirement. Also need a contract in place for those. But those are obviously more Airbnbs. We can accommodate those. The policy forms, we talked about this with the vacant. And
Are you there?
in California, yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just cut out there for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. Must have some weird connection issues. Okay, but I'm talking about this policy form, DP1, DP3. If you look at the, you'll see that in California, we'll give you some flexibility up to 40 years, and that just simply means updates are year built in the last 40 years to get that DP3. Much like the vacant property, we'll include a cosmetic renovation on your dwellings, as long as it doesn't exceed 150,000. Now, same thing with the vacant property and the dwelling. If you guys have a renovation on whether it's a vacant property or a dwelling, and it isn't cosmetic, it's a structural renovation, don't forget we still want you guys to quote that with AU Gold. We just want you to quote it with the renovation product, and we went over that product. Theft is included on the DP3. I'm just going down the line, and then we're going to give you some of the eligibility information, and we're letting you know on the dwelling we don't want fuses, aluminum, or knob and tube wiring, and we do require a minimum 100 amp breakers. Photos and inspections, that's more directed towards your MGA, the Abram account managers. They got to get the photos and inspections attached if we bind, so you guys need to work with them on that as well. We'll skip over a couple columns. We've already gone over the renovation, but I mentioned that we have a COC product, our course construction. This is the other builder's risk product that we have. Major difference between the builder's renovation and the COC. The course construction, there's no existing structure. This is a ground-up project. You'll see that we write projects up to $2 million. And one of the nice selling points for the AU Gold program on our COC product is we will package with the liability. Now, I know a lot of you have direct access to some of your standard markets. A lot of the standard markets aren't writing the liability on these ground-up course constructions, so we're going to be a nice option for you guys if you need that liability. A little bit different than the builder's renovation, though. If the insured's acting as the contractor on the COC, we will not touch the liability. Some of the other coverages, we'll give you some soft costs, property in transit and off-site coverage automatically included, and the policy forms we have available on the COC, on a commercial project, basic special, and you'll notice that the course construction with AU Gold, we do have an HO form for the residential exposures. We have an HO8, which is a basic type of form, and we have an HO3, which is a much broader coverage form. It's the one product with AU Gold that we do offer a homeowner's form.
All right, Drew, we hit our 35 minutes. I wanted to keep it concise, so we're also gonna send this sheet via email follow-up. We'll make it downloadable so you can pull it off, and you can reach out to us with any further questions about the additional AU Gold products that you might have.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. A couple points before I close here. Drew mentioned a few times we do have credit authority, so if the risk is close in terms of a competitive scenario, please let our account managers know. We do not want to lose out on good business just because we're off a few dollars. We do want to make sure we can compete for the business that we like. In addition, if you do have risks that are an additional capacity in terms of size, scope, or whatever, not qualifying for AU Gold, we do have alternative markets. Please contact us and we can try to remarket that risk. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We really appreciate all of you taking the time in your busy day to attend our webinar. Our hope is that you gain more knowledge about our vacant and property and builder's risk appetite and our quoting tools. You have an increased underwriting understanding, further familiarity on the process and the information needed by us. Also to help you better guide your client as the expectation from quoting and binding.